Nebraska just wrapped up an absolutely loaded recruiting weekend, hosting over 50 4-star and 5-star recruits on campus. And man, oh man, the rumors have been off the hook. So in today's video, I'm going to go over this jam-packed recruiting update, everything that happened this weekend. A certain 5-star tight end who was blown away by the Huskers. He recently talked about Nebraska and where we are on his list and when he's committing. Some news around a couple other 5-stars, some 4-stars committing very, very soon within these next couple days, potentially within these next couple hours. A status check around the entire class of 26, a SEC coach who was just fired that has some significant implications toward the Big Red, and everything else you need to know. So really quick, man, we have a lot to talk about. This is a jam-packed update. I'm fired up. If you are too, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? For daily content talking Huskers, it's no brainer. Takes 2 seconds. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Nebraska just wrapped up an absolutely loaded recruiting weekend. It's safe to say it was a slam dunk. It was a home run. And I understand the first comment I'm going to get is, oh, Nebraska lost versus USC. It was automatically a failure of a weekend. We're not getting any recruits, this, then, third. That couldn't be more wrong. Nebraska had a great recruiting weekend. Yes, it would have been nice to win. I'm not disputing that, but it's bigger than just the football field. It's bigger than just winning or losing. The fact of the matter is Nebraska showed off all of their great facilities. They had a bunch of big-time recruits on campus, 5-stars, 4-stars, who had experienced the Huskers for the first time. They got to see the blackout, which is one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. They got to see 90,000 for a night game light show, screaming their hearts out for all 4 quarters. So yes, did Nebraska lose? They did. And it would have been nice for us to win in that stage, in that moment, but still, it was still a great recruiting weekend. Getting those players on campus, that's the first step. That's the first big step. Winning would have just been a cherry on top, but we still had a great recruiting weekend, and we still have some positive developments that we need to talk about. Let's get things started with Ahmad Hudson, because we just received some pretty good news around one of the best players in America, 5-star tight end, the number 1 tight end in the country, of course, 6'7", 240 pounds. We know that he's down to pretty much Nebraska, LSU, Texas A&M, and a couple other schools fighting for him. But I've told you guys time and time again with this process that LSU has been the favorite. It's been LSU, Texas A&M 2, and probably Nebraska number 3. And this was a huge recruiting weekend for Nebraska because we finally had an opportunity to have him experience this culture, this atmosphere, and why he could potentially start right away. And I told you guys, depending on how this weekend goes, Nebraska could propel themselves from number 3 to number 1. And that's exactly what happened. We heard from multiple beat reporters at both 24/7 Sports and On 3 that after this weekend, Nebraska is now the clear front runner to land 5-star number 1 tight end in America, Ahmad Hudson. We are above LSU. We are above Texas A&M. There was a quote that was going out there that Ahmad Hudson said Nebraska is top 2 and we're not 2. Meaning we're number 1 right now. So again, the great development around Ahmad Hudson. He was very much impressed. Again, he has a great relationship with Trey Taylor. Trey's been in his ear for months now. He knows that Nebraska, we have a lot of money on the table. We want him to play on the basketball court as well. Again, there's just a lot of positive developments, but it comes down to winning at the end of the day. It would have been nice if we beat USC, but still, we can still end the year very strong. We can still go 9-3, but just know this, Nebraska, as it stands right now, we are number 1 in this process. However, it's a long process. It's not going to end anytime soon. He's going to draw this out probably till next summer. He's going to go on his official vids. It's still going to be Nebraska, LSU, Texas A&M until the very end. And LSU, I mean, things could change. While it looks very good for Nebraska right now because LSU fired their head coach, Brian Kelly, we'll see who they hire. And they could hire somebody that Ahmad Hudson really likes. And then they could change everything for them. Because I think in Ahmad Hudson's heart, he wants to go to LSU because he grew up to be a big Tiger fan. It just really depends on this hire. So again, I will definitely have my eyes out to see who they land at LSU. But right now, Nebraska, we are number 1. And hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully he continues to come back for visits. But just know the playing time's right. The NIL is right. Great connection with the coaching staff. Had a great visit. He loves the fans, loves the atmosphere. And he knows he can be a day 1 contributor. And then we got some news along with Juju Johnson, who was not visiting Nebraska this weekend, but it was reported during the game that we have officially made his top 5. Again, this is a 5-star corner coming out of California, number 5 corner in the class of 27. He's down to Nebraska, USC, Oregon, Michigan, Arizona State. I think there's one other in there as well. So Juju Johnson, Nebraska, officially in his top 5. He will not be visiting Nebraska for the rest of the year because we only have one more home game versus Iowa, but he's expected to visit Nebraska multiple times throughout this offseason. Again, very, very good development there around Juju Johnson. He's somebody who's a shutdown corner, great speed, great explosiveness, go up and get jump balls, has experience at wideout. And again, we need some studs in the secondary to pair alongside our guy, Torrey Pittman. So some good news there. We have made a top 5 for Juju Johnson. Then a couple other visitors, Xavier Sabb, who was a 5-star number 1 athlete in the class of 27, one of the fastest players in the country. He was very impressed with Nebraska. Again, he raved about the atmosphere. He raved about the fans. He said he's never seen anything like it. So again, really, really good visit for Xavier Sabb. It was a good first impression that Nebraska put on him, but still, we have a long ways to go. I'm not going to sit here and act like Nebraska has a great chance at landing him just because he's one of those guys who has every single offer in America. He's over 50 total. Again, he's a hot commodity. He can play receiver, he can play running back, he can play DB. So it'll be really indicative whether or not Nebraska actually gets him on another visit. But as it stands, Nebraska did a really good job, but we'll see if we can get him back in the summer. Then Arian Washington, again, we blew him away. This is one of the best corners coming out of California. He's very familiar with Juju Johnson. They probably want to pair up at the next level. So again, he's 6 foot tall, 160. He was very impressed with the Huskers. I think right now, as it stands, Nebraska's in his top 3, probably USC's number 1. Bama's probably in there as well. But Arian Washington had a really good visit to Nebraska. And we've actually done a really good job recruiting California. I mean, that's a state that we've done a really good job at within these last 2 to 3 years. And it says a lot when our starting quarterback is a kid coming out of Compton and TJ Lateef. That's going to have also some positive elements for the California class going forward because they know TJ and they're all friends with TJ. So again, I know everybody's worried about TJ Lateef being a starter, but again, there's a lot of positive developments when it comes to recruiting in that news. Then Jake Hildebrand, who's one of our top targets on the offensive line in class 27 out of Basha, Arizona, 6'6", about 300 pounds. He had a really good visit. He posted this on Twitter. He said, "What an amazing experience. I am very grateful for the hospitality and attention given to me. It was so much fun experience game day. Thank you." So Jake Hildebrand, this is the second time visiting Nebraska. He visited earlier in the offseason. So we'll see if he keeps coming back. I think as it stands right now, the Huskers are definitely in his top 5. You got Arizona State, you got Oregon, you got Texas A&M. He has a bunch of really good offers, and he's so developed in the pass pro. He's somebody who I believe whatever program he goes to, he will be in the mix to start day 1. So Nebraska, they've made him feel like a priority. Again, he was blown away, as were all of them. They were all blown away. So we'll see if he comes back on another visit. Jerry Outhouse, I really like Nebraska's odds for him. He's another top-tier corner coming out of Fort Worth, Texas. In my opinion, this is a guy who probably should be a 5-star with his talent. He said that right before the ball game, he was walking around on the field, and the student section was cheering his name. They said, "Jerry, Jerry, we want you." That was an interesting quote. He said he never has had that happen at any other school. Even in Texas, he's never had the student section cheer his name. He said he felt very, very special. Again, he loved the atmosphere. He loved the game. He said that Nebraska, we showed a lot of improvement. He was really impressed with the secondary. He believes that if he were to come to Nebraska, he's going to be developed at a high level with John Butler and Addison Williams. So although we lost the ball game, the secondary played well, and he wants to be part of that black shirt culture. I think the Huskers right now are in his top 3. And then Cooper Twillinger had a great visit. Again, this is a top 150 player in America, number 9 tight end in the country, number 1 player out of South Dakota. We know that a couple crystal balls have been rolling in from the commit to the Huskers, and I do believe this weekend did enough to land his commitment probably this week. So watch out for Cooper Twillinger. We'll talk about all the implications when he does commit, but I do believe we'll get some news. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday, you never know, but I do believe Cooper Twillinger is on commit watch, and that will be to Nebraska. Speaking of commit watch, as of recording this, Amir Brown has not committed to the Huskers. He may have committed by this very moment, but some more crystal balls have been rolling in from the commits to Nebraska, most notably by Steve Wiltfong. At this point, if Steve Wiltfong puts in a crystal ball, it pretty much means it's a done deal. It means that a commitment edit has been made by Hayes Fawcett, and it means that Amir Brown will be committing very soon. So Amir Brown, one of the best running backs in America, very similar. I'll wait to get my full reaction when he ends up making it official. But Amir Brown had a very good visit. He was supposed to go to Texas this week. We know he visited Nebraska last week for the Northwestern game, and he loved it so much that he canceled the Texas visit. He said, I got to come back. I got to come back for USC, and I do believe he will commit to Nebraska very soon, if he hasn't already, by releasing this video. They had a couple others. Tay Ellis had a really good time. We know that this is Nebraska's number 1 target in the receiver corps in the class of 27. He said that, again, he has a great relationship with Da'Keel Shorts. He loves the atmosphere. He knows he can be a day 1 contributor. And again, he feels like Nebraska's family. And he's a guy who really doesn't want to leave Texas. He likes, the Longhorns, he likes TCU, likes Texas A&M. But if you were to leave, the Lone Star State, it would be to Nebraska. And he's leaning that way right now. I do think the Huskers are number 1. And I honestly, Tay Ellis is one of those guys who I think probably could commit to Nebraska by the end of the year at this point, because he's somebody who wants to get this process done and over with. Couple others, Kaahaaina Henny had a good time. He visited, of course, alongside his good buddy, Torrey Pittman and Camden Berry, speedster in the class of 2030, who we're going to have to know in a couple years down the line. But Kaahaaina Henny, he keeps visiting every week, man. I'm waiting for the news. I want him to pair alongside Amir Brown. I think that'd be a nasty duo, but expect Kaahaaina Henny at some point to commit when he's given the green light. Zion Wesley's another name I'd watch out for. He's a teammate of current Nebraska commit Leon Noyle. He had a really good time. He's somebody who's a riser. He's right now only a 3-star in the class of 27, but has some decent offers in there. Most notably from Mississippi State, you got Houston, you got Missouri, and Ohio State had some interest in him too. So just watch out for Zion Wesley. He wants to team up with Leon Noyle. He might be a future 4-star, but he had a really good time. Really quickly, going to the class of 28, Asher, I'm not going to pronounce his last name right, Asher Gateau, coming out of Florida. He's a 5-star edge rusher. He had 20 sacks in his sophomore season. He visited Nebraska for the first time, and he was absolutely blown away. He said he's going to continue to visit Nebraska. He's going to visit us multiple times next year. He's somebody who has a bunch of offers nationally, super speedy, super athletic, has a great relationship with Phil Simpson and with Terry Brain. So just watch out for this name. Again, 28 guy, super far away, but very, very talented. Same deal, Bear Marshall, class of 2028, but I do believe this is somebody who might be our first commit in the class of 28. He's that talented. He loves Nebraska. He's visited us multiple times. He's 6'3", very speedy. This is somebody who I do think could potentially be our first ever commit in that class. So just watch out for Bear Marshall. Had a really, really good weekend. And then real quick, getting to updates in the class of 26, these guys did not visit versus USC, but just want to mention them. I do believe that when it's all said and done, Demitrius Hughes will flip to the Huskers. There were some rumors whether or not he was going to visit Nebraska for USC. He ended up making the trip, but he might come back versus Iowa. So we'll see on Demitrius. Florida State won this weekend, but still, Florida State's a sinking ship. They're going to fire Mark Norvell when it's all said and done. I do believe Demitrius Hughes will flip to the Huskers. Just kind of a matter of time at this point. Same deal with Jamal Lewis. I do believe he'll commit to Nebraska. TBD whether or not he actually visited Florida State. I didn't see whether or not he actually made the trip over there. Nebraska by far is number one. I do think we'll get an announcement pretty quickly, and the Huskers will get their first D-line commit in the class of 26. And then Josiah Teasley, somebody who's very interesting. Right now, it looks like a battle between Nebraska, Vandy, and Virginia, keeping his talents. Super talented 6'5" speedster, freak athlete receiver. This depends on whether or not Huskers have an offer on the table that's committable. There were some rumors he would visit Nebraska once again for the Iowa game. We'll see if he ends up making the trip, but I do believe Nebraska, if they extend him a committable offer, he will take it and flip to the Huskers. So again, expect some news in the class 26 happening within these next couple weeks, if not these next couple days. And then before we get out of here, as we always talk about, when there is a coach who is fired, and we just received news that Auburn fired their head coach, Hugh Freeze, we have to look at the recruiting class because we know there's some recruiting implication. We know that we're trying to pouch some of these guys. So let's just look at Auburn's recruiting class, see who we could flip. I mean, they got one of the best safeties in America and Braylon Womack. I don't think he's going to flip to us. But, I mean, looking over some others who I think could be more likely, we'll see. I mean, they got a lot of talent, man. Parker Pritchett, somebody coming out of Georgia who's done a really good job in that state. They got a couple of talented players when it comes to Wayne Henry's somebody who Nebraska, I believe, has an offer on the table for. I mean, they got some talent. They don't have a great recruiting class, but I wouldn't be shocked if Nebraska tries to pouch a couple of those guys. Let's look at the class 27 real quick. Let's see if they have anybody in that next cycle. If it wants to load real quick. If it wants to load. There we go, real quick. We got Jalyn Scott who's committed to Auburn. So I don't know if he flips to Nebraska, but again, it should be noted, Auburn, they have a lot of big-time players committed to them, and they also have a lot of big-time players on their roster. And I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of them enter the portal and Nebraska tries to recruit a couple. So just wanted to mention that at the end of the video. Overall, really good recruiting weekend. Yes, it would have been nice to win, no question about it, but still, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on. I mean, we're favorites to land a 5-star tight end. We're about to get a 4-star running back. We're about to get a 4-star tight end also. You know, we're about to get a couple of receiver commits. We might get a couple offensive line commits as well. So again, there's a lot of stuff going on in our favor. We should be happy, but we need to end our season strong, and we need to bump up our NIL. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about everything. Hey, if you made this far in the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go big red, go Matt Roll, and I will see you in the next one.